First of all, the three of us are very different, have different personalities, but we do agree on the one thing that pulls us together, which is our conservative values and principles that we feel towards government and how it should be run. So that's number one. That's what's pulled us together.
And honestly, it's a good thing that we're not all the same and we think the same, react the same.
Right. I mean, we should be listening, debating, and then making the best decisions for our citizens.
I think I bring the value of consistency to the table. I am very data driven. I love structure. I love rules. I love to read and research to make sure I'm making the best decisions possible.
She's so good at that.
Yeah, which is totally different than I am. I'm big picture. I like to look at the positive, so I need someone to tell me the negatives, and that's been one of my frustrations. Is I don't feel like we always get the other side of things, just the pretty picture, and I need someone to give me all of the details. But I feel like I have a good vision for the city, and I think I do a really good job of looking at the city as a whole, not just for this area or this neighborhood or these certain people, but looking at what does it do for our city as a whole.
I would say I'm very future focused. And very much an action oriented person. I don't want to sit and talk about it. I want to do it and get it done. So,
Well, I'm sure many people are wondering, why would you give up your seat that you didn't even have to run for last time and take this risk? And we need that conservative seat, and if you lose that and we don't get someone in there conservative, what happens then? But I would have been perfectly happy for the mayor to stay the mayor if I felt like he was moving things in the direction that I think is best for our city. But I've seen a push for some, uh, the public transportation, the Tarrant Area Food Bank, things that I don't feel like city government is supposed to take care of. And so it's a totally different mindset for what our city government is supposed to be doing. And so I really felt like I didn't have any other choice. If I want Mansfield to be the Mansfield that I know and love, then I don't think it will be if we don't have a change.
right.
I feel like what really the catalyst that made me decide to really run for council was the lack of transparency, the lack of feeling like our council is connected with community. When I spoke at in the September, I spoke at the council meeting in regards to our mayor speaking up on behalf of all of council.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked council members if they knew about it, they were not aware of this particular meeting. And so I had questions. Why is our mayor speaking on behalf of our council members, yet they didn't know about it? And when I spoke at that meeting, the only person that contacted me was Julie. Not another one of the council members contacted me. Made me think, why? Why, if they won't speak up for themselves, are they going to speak up for me, the citizen, the community, a taxpayer? They wouldn't even call me and let me know what was going on. So I felt like if I want that transparency, and I do believe that our community needs a voice, and I want to be that voice for them.
Well, I've been in my role at the chamber for 10 years. And for 10 years, I have participated in advocacy with candidate forums and candidate interviews over the years. And I can remember just every year, it's like, okay, well, who's going to run? Nobody wants to run. And every year it gets thinner and thinner. Mm-hmm. And I remember last year thinking all the things that had happened previously and just looking around at how Mansfield is changing and going, okay, well, you have some options. Your options are you suck it up, accept it for what it is, and then you go, okay, well, if I do that, though, how am I going to do my job? in what I do every day. So that really isn't an option. Then the next one is, well, you could move. Well, that means moving, and I don't want to move. We've lived here for over 30 years. House is paid for. Hey, I'm staying. So then the next option is then you have to fight it. And so it's kind of one of the, it's a there's no other option. So that's the reason why. Now there's a lot of things that built up between during that time of when in 10 years that I started doing all that the things that have changed and how um, basically my belief in the free market and what that means and how I represent and work with businesses, the free market is extremely important. Government should not be competing with our businesses. They should not be picking the winners and the losers. They should not be acting as developers. All of that, then add on to the fact that I also believe in limited government, and that's not happening. So, for those reasons and a whole bag of stuff, that's why I'm running. So, one of the core beliefs under conservative principles is the free market. And I say that, the free market, because I firmly believe that it is government's role, local, federal, you name it, to set the stage that business plays on. In other words, they make sure that everything is there, your streets, your water, all your utilities, the stage is set. They back off. They no longer play. They're not supposed to be out front and center. They're supposed to be behind the scenes. They set the stage. They allow then businesses to come and to do. You don't pick who gets to come or anything like that, but you open it up. And whoever comes, whoever succeeds, that's what the whole American dream is about. And anytime government steps in and starts putting their finger on a scale, it screws it up.
I can see that from a small business perspective. If I've, as a small business owner, when you put your life savings into a business to try to get it up and running, if you have government or city coming in and bringing in strategic businesses around me that may affect me
Compete with you.
and compete with me, then it could be detrimental to a small business.
That's why the government should be involved in it, because then if you fail, it's not the government's fault, it's your fault.
Right.
And when a government gets involved, they're now in between you and whoever because they decided to step in, which they shouldn't be able to do.
So council members shouldn't play developers. We shouldn't
Yes.
be, and I feel like one of the things that we could do to alleviate that is that there should be a standard rule that we can't meet one-on-one with developers, that there should be at least two council members. And then why are they wanting to meet with the council? Why are they wanting to meet with a council member anyway?
I have always believed that they wanted to meet with council before they sunk a bunch of money into a project to see if there's an appetite for it.
I feel like they're trying
But if your
to coerce
systems
you.
and if you go back to systems and planning and zoning, there's no need for that because they should already know. It should already be black and white now out in the open.
And where I've felt like things didn't go the right way with that in the past, I had always assumed that if they're meeting with one of us, they're probably meeting with all of us. But I have found out over the last few years that that is not the case. That they're sometimes we'll meet with certain individuals, and then I don't know that until way down the road when I had assumed that maybe they just saw a piece of property and an opportunity to be in Mansfield, and they came to us, directly to the city to see if this project would work, and then found out they had already had multiple meetings with others.
Now, planning and zoning should be able to let them know whether that project is going to work. I mean, after meeting with them and them strategically talking about the areas and what businesses they know will
Right,
do
we have
well
the
in
land
Mansfield.
use plan.
Yes.
We have our standards of how we want things built.
The
All of
standard's
those
been
things.
set. Why do they need to?
Well, and
over?
why is council doing or taking on the role of city staff?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an economic development guy and
Yes.
team.
Yeah, and they do an
Yeah,
outstanding
we have
job.
We've got
Planning and zoning.
So I don't understand the need either for city council members to be involved in that.
Right, until it's just presented to be
I
either
don't want to be
approved or
involved with that.
I do not either.
right. I think it can get sideways real quick.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, as a council member who's been left out of those meetings in the past, I definitely feel like I'm at a disadvantage when the project does come.
Yeah, that's
To
wrong.
us.
To council.
Yeah, that's
wow.
wrong.
I didn't think of it like that.
That's not good.
No.
Well, I can tell you when I was doing my research, I had at the 2024 State of the City, I believe they presented a project. It was a hotel. And so I thought, well, let's see how this works. I kind of want to see how it played out and was presented to council. And I had a very difficult time finding this project in any council meetings at all. Couldn't find it on planning and zoning. Actually had to call the Mansfield Economic Development Center and ask, where is this? Because I found the contract on the MEDC website, but could not find where it was presented to council at all. So if you're just, a citizen, which I am, and looking for a project, why was it so difficult that I had to contact the EDC to find out what is this? And so I was told it was listed under a project number. Well, then I wondered how if it's listed under project number, is it really, if you're in executive session and you're talking about it, how do you know the details in that?
You had reached out to me about that, and the only way I could find it in my notes was through that project number, and realized that in the minutes, at the next meeting, it stated that coming out of executive session, it was voted on whether that was approved or not, and it was referenced by the EDC number, the project number, not the project name. Right. So I couldn't find it by the project name either.
Yeah.
I knew we had voted on it because we did a groundbreaking for it.
And there was I do know that there was an article online in regards to this project. So the name of the hotel was mentioned in this article, but yet it wasn't on any documents from the city.
Right. So I don't know why that wasn't presented in the open. Because many times, like Hilton Garden Inn, we're getting a Hilton Garden Inn. When the Spring Hill Suites was built, we see that presented in the council meeting. So yeah, so then with you asking the questions, got me thinking, I don't know why that wasn't presented in the open like that. That is a good question.
So when these things happen, what's the end result of that? I mean, when you discover these things, where's the accountability? How does that work?
Well, I think what needs to happen is the mayor and council members need to set the tone with staff on what they expect. And if we expect staff and ourselves to be open and transparent to the public, then staff needs to follow that expectation, and all things need to be presented in the public unless they are specific to negotiations. And then once they're settled, then it needs to be in the public what those details are, instead of even just having to go find them on the EDC website.
Because after that was voted on and that project's going forward, it could have been talked about,
right,
or placed on the city website or something so that it wasn't so difficult to find.
Well,
because when you don't have those things, then it makes you
start
think,
to question
you start
everything.
To question it.
Well, that's what's going on now. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, nobody trusts.
Yeah.
Well,
there is no trust.
That's where I feel like staff is in an awkward situation. They work for the city, the citizens. They work for our city manager. He's working for mayor and 6 council people, so he's got 7 people. So it really is, I believe, the majority of the pressure placed on him on how he directs staff.
And that's how it should be. I mean, as a council member, he is your sole employee.
Right.
And so the other staff is his employee.
Mhm.
So we, if we're elected to council,
Mhm.
I know I would never put council in any position where, or staff in position where they feel like they would need to answer to me or
Honestly, if I have an issue with staff or I feel like I need staff to do something, then I need to go to the city
Mhm.
manager, because he is our employee
Mhm.
as a council member. He is our employee, and then he oversees the day-to-day operations. So that's the way that's supposed to work. So if the majority of people on council want that openness, that transparency, you let the city manager know that, and that needs to be happening moving forward.